You ever notice how some people can't stand it when you're doing well? They'll never say it directly, but you can feel it. You land that new job, you finally finish that project, you buy that car you've been saving up for, and instead of a genuine smile, you get this half-hearted, almost forced reaction. They clap, but it's slow. They smile, but it doesn't reach their eyes. And when they finally open their mouth, it's not "I'm proud of you." It's "must be nice," or "you got lucky." That's not celebration, that's minimization. See, when someone really cares about you, your wins feel like their wins. They don't need to water it down, they don't need to balance it out with negativity. They're just glad you made it. But when someone secretly doesn't like you, your success makes them uncomfortable. It shines a light on their own insecurities, and instead of dealing with that, they try to dim your light so it doesn't bother them so much. That's why you hear comments like "don't get too big-headed," or "don't forget where you came from." Sounds harmless, but it's a subtle way of pulling you down when you're rising. Here's the thing, people who secretly hate you will never give you the full weight of encouragement. They'll give you just enough to look supportive, but not enough to make you feel lifted. And the more you pay attention, the more obvious it becomes. You'll notice the little digs, the comparisons, the way they change the subject when you're excited. You'll notice how they downplay what took you months, maybe years, to accomplish with one small, dismissive comment. And it gets worse when the spotlight's on you, because when other people are cheering, when the room is clapping, when you're finally getting recognition, they can't hide it. They'll cross their arms, roll their eyes, or find a way to shift the focus back to themselves. That's not a slip, it's a reveal. It's the truth slipping out of someone who can't handle your shine. Now let me be clear. There's a difference between someone keeping you humble and someone minimizing your worth. A real friend can check you if you're getting arrogant, but even then, they'll still celebrate you. They'll tell you, "I'm proud of you. You deserve this. Don't let it change who you are." That's love. That's support. But someone who secretly hates you, they'll skip the first part entirely. "No, I'm proud of you. No, you deserve this." Straight to the criticism, straight to the dismissal, straight to the negativity. So how do you handle it? You don't argue. You don't beg them to clap louder. You don't waste time convincing them of your worth, because your accomplishments don't need their approval to be real. Their silence doesn't erase your hard work. Their sarcasm doesn't undo your progress. If anything, it reveals exactly where they stand, and exactly where you don't need to invest your energy anymore. When people minimize your wins, it's not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their insecurity. Your job is to notice it, acknowledge it for what it is, and keep moving forward, because the best response to someone who secretly hates your success is to keep succeeding anyway. You know what's even more revealing than silence? It's when people use their words as weapons, but they dress them up as jokes. Ever been in a room where someone makes a comment about you, everyone laughs, but deep down you feel that sting? And then, when you react, they quickly cover it up with, "Relax, I was just kidding." That's not a joke. That's an insult wrapped in humor. That's someone telling you how they really feel, but softening it just enough so you can't call them out without looking like you're overreacting. This is how people who secretly don't like you get away with it. They can't say it to your face because that would be too obvious, too confrontational. So, they find these little cracks in conversation to slip in their true feelings. It'll sound playful, maybe even clever, but underneath the laugh it's poison. They'll joke about your weight, your job, your dreams, your relationship, your mistakes, and then laugh it off like it's harmless. But ask yourself, why is the punchline always you? Why is the laughter always at your expense? See, humor is powerful. It connects people, it eases tension, it builds relationships. But when humor is used as a shield, it becomes a tool of control. Because if you speak up, you're suddenly the problem. You're too sensitive, you can't take a joke, you're making it awkward, and that's exactly what they want. To keep you quiet, to keep you second. guessing yourself to make you feel like maybe you're the one in the wrong. But you're not. That discomfort you feel, that tightening in your chest when they say it, that's your body telling you the truth before your mind can excuse it away. And here's what I want you to notice, the pattern. Once in a while, sure, friends tease each other, that's normal. But when it becomes consistent, when it feels targeted, when you leave conversations feeling smaller instead of stronger, that's not friendship. That's hostility dressed up as humor. That's someone secretly resenting you, using jokes, to chip away at your confidence little by little. Watch how they react when the joke isn't on you but on them. Do they laugh as easily? Do they shrug it off? Usually not. Usually, the same people who claim it's just a joke are the first to get defensive when the tables turn, because it was never about laughter. It was about control. Now, what do you do when you recognize it? You don't always have to confront it head on, because not every battle deserves your energy, but you do need to set boundaries. Boundaries don't always sound like arguments. Sometimes they sound like silence. Sometimes they sound like not giving them the reaction they're fishing for. Sometimes they sound like removing yourself from the circle that keeps handing you backhanded compliments and calling them humor. And here's the truth. People who genuinely care about you don't joke in ways that wound you. They don't find amusement in your insecurities. They don't use laughter as a cover for cruelty. They lift you up with their words, even when they're teasing. You can feel the difference. One leaves you smiling because you know it's rooted in love. The other leaves you uneasy because you know it's rooted in resentment. So don't ignore those jokes. Don't gaslight yourself into believing it's nothing. Pay attention to the words people use when they think they can get away with it, because those little jokes, repeated over time, reveal the bigger truth they're too afraid to say out loud. One of the clearest signs that someone secretly hates you is how they respond when you succeed. Pay close attention to whether they stand with you or if they suddenly turn everything into a competition. You share good news, you tell them about a breakthrough, and instead of being happy for you, their first instinct is to one-up it. You say, "I finally got promoted," and they say, "Oh, that's great, but I got promoted twice as fast at my last job." You say, "I ran my first 5K," and they say, "That's nothing, I've run marathons." It's not that they can't relate, it's that they refuse to let you have a moment that's purely yours. The truth is, real friends don't feel threatened by your growth. They don't need to keep score. They don't measure your progress against theirs. They can sit in your joy and celebrate with you, even if they're still waiting for their own breakthrough. But when someone secretly doesn't like you, they're not capable of that. Your success shines a light on what they haven't done, and instead of letting it inspire them, they let it irritate them. And because they can't come out and say, "I'm jealous," they hide it under competition. It's subtle, but it's constant. You'll notice the pattern, the way every conversation circles back to their achievements, their wins, their experiences. You tell a story, they top it. You share an accomplishment, they downplay it by reminding you of theirs. And little by little, you start to feel drained, because instead of support, you're always in a silent contest you never signed up for. But here's the danger. If you're not careful, you'll start shrinking yourself just to avoid triggering their envy. You'll stop sharing your wins. You'll downplay your own progress. You'll minimize your excitement, all because you don't want to deal with their competitive energy. And that's exactly how you lose yourself, by making yourself small so someone else can feel comfortable. But let me tell you, people who truly value you will never require you to hide your light so they can feel secure in their shadow. Another thing to notice is timing. When you're struggling, they'll show up, but not to lift you, more to feel better about themselves. They'll lean into your failures because it puts them ahead, at least in their own mind. That's the difference between a friend and a rival. A friend will be there whether you're winning or losing, cheering you on in both seasons. A rival disguised as a friend will only feel good when you're down, and when you're up, they'll try to pull you back level with them. Now, let's be clear. Healthy competition is not the same as hidden hate. Pushing each other to grow, challenging each other in a positive way, that's iron sharpening iron. That builds you both. But this kind of competition is different. It's toxic, it's draining, and it reveals their resentment. If every time you rise, they scramble to remind you they're higher, it's not about growth, it's about control. So how do you respond? You stop apologizing for winning. You stop dimming your shine to make them feel comfortable. You let them deal with their own insecurities while you keep moving forward. Because your life is not a scoreboard, and your success is not up for comparison. You can always tell how someone really feels about you when life gets heavy. Because when things are going well, everybody wants to be around. Success attracts people. Good times draw a crowd. But when the shine fades, when the weight sets in, when you're the one who needs help instead of the one giving it, that's when the truth shows. Someone who secretly hates you won't be there. They'll vanish. They'll make excuses. They'll go silent when your world is loud with struggle. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how certain people only show up when there's something in it for them? They'll text when there's an event. They'll call when they need advice. They'll cheer when you're shining, but let you fall into a hard season, and suddenly they're nowhere to be found. That's not coincidence. That's character, because true support doesn't disappear when it's inconvenient. Real care doesn't clock out when it costs time, energy, or effort. And it's not just absence, it's the silence that hurts. You share that you're going through something, and they brush it off with, "You'll be fine." You ask for advice, and they change the subject. You open up, and they're scrolling through their phone. That's not support. That's dismissal. And if you pay attention, you'll realize they were never there for you to begin with. They were there for the benefits of being near you. This is what makes it tricky. When someone secretly doesn't like you, they won't always fight you openly. Instead, they'll betray you quietly by withholding what a real friend would give freely: encouragement, a listening ear, a hand to help you stand. Their absence says everything their words never will. And the danger here is, you'll start to question yourself. You'll wonder if maybe you're asking too much, if maybe your expectations are too high. But let's be real, it doesn't take much to check on someone. It doesn't take much to say, "I'm here." It doesn't take much to show up. So if they're not doing even that, it's not about your expectations. It's about their lack of care. The hardest pill to swallow is realizing that some people are only loyal to your light, not your shadow. They'll stand beside you when you're glowing because it benefits them. It makes them look good. It makes them feel good. But the second you need them in the dark, they fade out. That's not loyalty. That's convenience. And someone who operates like that doesn't secretly love you. They secretly resent you because your need exposes their lack. Here's the truth: genuine support is tested in hard seasons. It's not proven when the sun's shining. It's proven when the storm hits. Pay attention to who disappears when you need them most, because that absence is the loudest answer you'll ever get about where you stand in their heart. If you really want to know how someone feels about you, listen to how they talk about others. Because the truth is, people who secretly hate you will often give themselves away by the way they treat people when those people aren't around. If every conversation turns into gossip, if every sentence is laced with criticism, if every story they tell is meant to tear someone else down, don't think for a second that you're the exception. You're not. The same way they drag others behind their back is the same way they'll drag you the moment you're not in the room. It usually starts small. They make a negative comment here, a judgmental remark there. You brush it off, maybe even laugh along because it feels harmless in the moment. But the more you listen, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just casual talk. This is a pattern. Their default is negativity. Their reflex is criticism. And what they're really doing is planting seeds. Seeds of doubt, seeds of suspicion, seeds of mistrust. They want to control how you see other people because deep down, they're threatened by connection. If they can turn you against someone else, then they keep you closer to themselves. But if they can't, eventually they'll turn that same energy against you. And here's what happens when you're not careful. You start to absorb it. You start to take on their lens. You begin to think the way they think, speak the way they speak, judge the way they judge. That's the danger of staying close to someone who spreads subtle negativity. It seeps into you. Before long, you're carrying weight that was never yours, all because you let someone else's bitterness shape your perspective. People who secretly hate you won't always attack you directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, they create an atmosphere. They fill the air with quiet disapproval, backhanded remarks, sarcastic tones, little digs that seem unimportant on the surface but wear you down over time. It's death by 1,000 cuts, and by the time you realize it, your confidence has already taken the hit. But here's the key. Listen not just to what they say, but how they say it. Do they ever celebrate anyone? Do they ever speak highly of others? Or is it always criticism, always suspicion, always negativity? Because if their mouth is constantly pulling others down, you can be sure your name is in their mouth when you're not there. Now, don't confuse this with honesty. Real honesty can be tough, but it's constructive. It's meant to build, to protect, to guide. Negativity is different. Negativity leaves you feeling smaller, heavier, drained. Honesty comes from love. Negativity comes from envy. One sharpens you, the other poisons you. And once you see it clearly, the choice becomes simple. Either you limit their access to your ear, or you let their poison shape your world. Because words carry power, and the more you let their negativity surround you, the harder it becomes to recognize your own truth. Sometimes the loudest sign that someone secretly hates you isn't in what they say, but in what they choose not to do. Silence can be more revealing than words. Think about it. When people truly care about you, they don't just speak up, they act. They share opportunities. They mention your name in rooms you're not in. They stand up for you when others are tearing you down. But someone who secretly resents you will never give you that kind of support. They'll stay quiet, even when they know speaking up could help you. They'll withhold what they could easily offer, because deep down, they don't want to see you get ahead. It's subtle, and that's what makes it dangerous. You don't always notice it right away because silence doesn't sting the way words do, but over time you start to see the pattern. You hear about chances you missed because no one told you. You realize they were in the room when your name came up, but they didn't vouch for you. You find out they knew about opportunities, but they never thought to pass them along. And then it hits you. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was intentional. They weren't rooting for you. They were fine with you staying exactly where you are. And what makes it worse is the false front. To your face, they might still smile, still act supportive, still clap when everyone else claps. But behind the scenes, their silence is the real truth. Their inaction speaks louder than their words ever could. Because when someone is truly for you, they don't hesitate. They don't sit back and watch doors close on you. They open them, even if it costs them nothing but a little effort. The hardest part about this kind of betrayal is how invisible it feels. You can't always prove it. You can't point to a specific sentence or a clear action. All you know is something doesn't add up, and that's why it cuts so deep, because it forces you to face the reality that not everyone who's close to you is really with you. But here's the perspective shift. Their silence is still information. It tells you who values you and who doesn't. It tells you who wants to see you grow and who would rather watch you stay small. It tells you who you can lean on and who you can't. And as painful as that realization is, it's also freeing. Because once you know the truth, you stop expecting support from people who will never give it. You stop waiting for them to come through. You stop handing them the kind of loyalty they've never once shown you. And don't make the mistake of thinking silence is neutral. It's not. Silence in moments of importance is a choice. When someone has the chance to help, to defend, to uplift, and they choose not to, that's not neutrality, that's betrayal. That's them showing you exactly where they stand without ever saying a word. So when you notice this kind of silence, don't ignore it. Pay attention, because it's not about what they won't say to you. It's about what they refuse to say for you.